Pain. Welcome to another episode of Tailgate Talk. We're your hosts, David and Nick. Nick, say hi to the people.
I'm not saying howdy this week. How you doing?
Uh,
Uh,
Not great. Well, as you can tell, we're not so happy after Saturday's game. Clemson went down to Notre Dame, 35-14. Ugly game for the Tigers. Did not look good from the start, from the get-go. So we're gonna get into that. Nick, you want to start us off?
yeah, the New York Jets are 6-3. Had to shout them out. Big win over the Bills today. This game was brutal. It was, I mean, you and I watched it together. We were able to enjoy it in the same room, but I mean, from the first screenplay that Streeter called, I think you can remember I said, like, what are we doing? Like it, it was baffling how long they stayed running the offense that didn't work. Um, and it's even more frustrating seeing how they were able to score two touchdowns on 11 play drives back to back when the game was already out of reach. The defense just got tired. I really, the two defense slash special teams touchdowns for Notre Dame. So really, it's like the defense kind of gave up 21. And most of the time it was because they were just exhausted from the offense not doing anything. Tough game. Quarterback situation is more. I'd say it's more in flux now than it was after Syracuse. I have no idea what's going to happen the rest of the year. If we're going to say DJ go win us the ACC, go win us the state, go win the closer, or if we're going to say, you know what, Cade, we're going to need you next year. Let's throw you on the fire. Let make you get better that way. So I really don't know. Um, it it goes to I think another thing that I think people are kind of forgetting also is that our wide receivers haven't been recruited the same way since, and I bring it up because he got fired today, but Jeff Scott, since he's been here, our wide receiving core hasn't been wide receiver U. And it I think it sucks to say that, but um something's got to change. So our other the receivers got to step up. The play calling has to get a lot better, and the quarterback play has to get a little more. I mean, I've been high on DJ even through last year, but this two games in a row where it's just the dud. So quarterback's got to be a little more consistent on that aspect. Um, Season's not over, you know. Notre Dame's a good team. I didn't think that I would be saying that after they lost to Marshall and Stanford, but they came out and they played well. They deserved that win. Um, so props to them. They beat us when I didn't think they would. So now it's up to uh still got a lot to play for. So unfortunate, but at least it wasn't a conference game. That's just my mentality out of this.
Yeah, after talking to some people that were at the game, does sound like until about 9 p.m., until later in the second half, the wind was just insane. Now, granted, the wind was insane for both teams, just like it was for Ohio State against Northwestern. You saw how ugly Ohio State's offense looked in that. But I think that that's what seemed to be the reasoning behind that first quarter. Out of the 10 passes we threw in the first quarter, nine of them were within 5 yards or behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, if that's the
Um,
case, then give the ball to Will Shipley and Phil Maffa. They
that,
didn't do
that's
that.
that's where I was going with it. That's where my questioning on the play calling goes is why are we not running behind our stud backs? I mean, you've got Will Shipley only had 12 carries. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. Why aren't you feeding that guy? You know that the game is going to be tough. You know that Notre Dame is going to want to ground and pound you and wear out your defense. I don't care how much, how many guys you have and how many horses you have in that stable, how deep your D line is. They are going to get tired if you keep putting them out there, three and out, three and out, three and out the whole game. And that's what happened. I mean, you saw that Clemson kind of rode out the first half, only down two scores. Felt like, if they could get down and score, start off the third quarter, they're right back in it. Um, And then when the fourth quarter came around, that's when Notre Dame went on those long punishing drives, put up three touchdowns in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's not what Clemson gives up. They get better in the second half, and I think that this is kind of remnants of last year where um, you're you're just wearing out that defense, and at one point they can't do anything else. They've done all that they can. So I wasn't a
It's just
huge fan of how the switch was handled. When DJ has his best drive, he gets a pick. I think that if he throws that ball out in front of the receiver in the back of the end zone, it's a touchdown. But instead, it gets picked. So then on the next drive, you've got Cade backed up. You hand it off on the first drive, on the first play, and on the second play, you're having him roll left. I mean, to me, it feels like at this point, when I'm looking at the body of work of what Cade's been given this year, it feels like the team has been putting him in bad positions. They're putting him backed up, putting him when we're down 11, down um, 21. You're asking for this kid to go out and be Superman when he's a freshman, and hasn't proven yet that he's quite ready. And it feels like it's almost like they're trying to show the fan base, look, he's not ready. This is why we're sticking with DJ. And I think that what you're doing there at that point is you're destroying both the guys' confidences. I think at the end afterwards, DJ was saying his confidence is still high. He's shrugging it off. He's got that mentality, which is great to hear. But there's no way this is not affecting him, and there's no way this is not affecting Cade when he just got to the college football landscape. Like it's something that I think has been mismanaged. I'm disappointed in seeing it, but maybe it's because they feel like Christopher Vicini coming in next year is going to be the guy, and so they're not too worried about that. I don't know. It's confusing, and I think that's what's led into the quarterback drama that the media has been calling out.
well, I totally agree with your analysis that they're just throwing both. I mean, both quarterbacks are just getting thrown in completely bad situations. Um, it's
When's the last time we've gotten down to the 10th game of the season and we don't and you have questions about what kind of offensive identity Clemson has?
it started
Are we a
last year.
passing team or are we a running team? I don't know. I think we should be a running team. I think we should be leaning on Will Shipley and Phil Maffa, giving those guys 20 plus carries a game and just ground and pound some of these guys because we know that the defense is good enough that if you run it and you control the clock and you take care of the ball and we saw against Syracuse they were able to run the ball at will. Why didn't we try to do that this game? Especially when you know that the wind is so bad. I mean, freaking Notre Dame did it. We were the best. We're one of the best defensive units when it comes to stopping the run. And Logan Diggs and Audric Estime both ran for over 100 yards. Both had over 15 carries. I mean, they ran the ball 47 times as a team. Notre Dame, Clemson, 25. Like what the hell?
That's why I just think it's coming down to the play calling. It was the same. I thought it was play calling last year too. And then you see what Tony Elliott kind of brought to Virginia, and it kind of laid a little truth to that. And I think as much as I love Brandon Streeter, I think that I mean he learned under Tony Elliott, so it's almost like I mean it's the same system, and the system didn't work last year. Defenses figured it out. It's time to switch it up a little bit, and that's getting a little more creative with your packages, getting a little more creative with the play calling, getting a little more just something new. Just they're running the same screens, and it's like they're expecting no one to be able to stop it. It's maddening, and insanity is trying the same thing multiple times and expecting different results. And that's the theme of this Clemson offense. It's insanity. It's not utilizing our tight ends. I mean, Davis Allen led the team in receptions yesterday, but none of them were over the middle of the field. They were all to the boundary. I mean, it's almost a running joke that Clemson fans want our tight ends in the middle of the field, but it's because they're open and they would be there, but our scheme refuses to put them there. So I don't know. It's frustrating. And again, we have it's I'd rather be in this position being frustrated with an 8-1 team than having to suffer through um like what's going on at Boston College where they had promise and now they're just not doing well. Um so it stings, and it's definitely, and as much as frustrated as the fans are, I know that the guys are even more frustrated. Um but it's times like this where like I mean I'm struggling to know what to say, but I'm just thankful that we've it's a good problem to have when you think about it, because we wouldn't be getting this upset. I mean, think about it. We'd love an 8-1 team if we hadn't won 2 national titles and we hadn't won however many ACCs in a row. It's a testament to where Dabo has brought the program, and I mean he's got us this far at this point, and he's our coach for hopefully the rest of his career. So I'm not gonna. I mean, I can say that the offensive play calling needs to be changed. I could even say, you know what, we need to get someone from outside the program right now to kind of come in and rejuvenate this offense. But what at the end of the day, I'm going to put my trust in Dabo, and he'll. I think he'll know what to do. I mean, no one knows this program better than him. So just it's again, it's frustrating, but I'd prefer it this year when we're 8-1 as opposed to last year when we were 5-3.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, we're not knocking Clemson to be upset or anything. I mean, we're looking forward to next week. Clemson in this position has everything in front of them. They win next week against Louisville, and they are guaranteed outright the Atlantic Division. Right now, Clemson's guaranteed at least a share of the division, but they win out tomorrow or this coming Saturday. And they are Atlantic champs again, after last year that going to Wake. So that's a
Yeah.
big thing. It's one of Clemson's goals every year. You got to win your division. After that, you got to win the state, because we still got South Carolina at the end of the year. And after that, you win your conference. Those are the three goals that are up next. And then the next goal, which I think is interesting, Clemson doesn't put down you got to win a bowl game, or you got to win the national championship. They put down that you got to win the last game. It doesn't matter where you are, you're playing to win that last game. So that everything is still ahead of Clemson in that respect. I think the playoff hopes are on life support. I think
Yeah.
that they're not 100% out because they do have only one loss. It doesn't help with the way that the media has been perceiving Clemson, but there's definitely a scenario where if chaos reigns supreme like it always does each year, that Clemson could back their way in, with a big win against UNC, probably being highly ranked at the end of the year. If they look good in that, then I think they've got a chance to get in. But I think that at this point, the focus just needs to be week in, week out, take it in, and accept that it's not always going to go your way. I mean, look at Alabama this year. They're going to go, and Bryce Young, who they're saying has probably the best player that's ever gone through Alabama, and he's not going to win a national championship for them as a starter. It's not going to happen. They're not. They've lost 2 games this year. They've lost to Tennessee and now LSU. So that pretty much, if you think our playoff hopes are gone, imagine Alabama right now. They need help in order for them to win their division in the SEC. So right now they need a lot of chaos to happen in order for them to get to Atlanta, and I don't really see that happening. So they're not going to get a chance to get that title. They'll probably still get a New Year's Six bowl, but that's gone for them, and that's still up in the air for Clemson. They can still take that and be in control of that. So, like Nick said, it's kind of you got to take what the hand is dealt to you and move on to the next week because there's still a whole lot to play for.
Alabama needs LSU to lose the remainder of their conference games to make it to Atlanta. LSU plays at Arkansas, which just lost to Liberty, and Texas A&M, who has been a dumpster fire all year. And right now, because of Ole Miss playing one less game in the conference as of right now, Alabama's third place in the West, and Ole Miss play. I mean, Ole Miss and Alabama play this weekend in Oxford. Then Ole Miss plays at Arkansas, and then they play Mississippi State. So realistically, I mean, it could work out where Alabama doesn't even finish second in the West. They could finish third. So I agree. I definitely would rather be in Clemson's spot right now than Alabama's, and that's something that I'm very happy to say. Like it does feel good to have that. So, and also as much as we want to say Clemson played like crap, we got to give Notre Dame its laurels. They played a hell of a game. They schemed it perfectly. They were the better team, and they deserved to win. And they won. I didn't think that it would be a blowout either way, and they proved me wrong in the worst way possible. So kudos to Notre Dame for turning their season, not giving up on their season when they lost to Marshall or Stanford. They believed in themselves, and Marcus Freeman, I think, is going to be a very good coach for them, and I think that they have a bright future.
Oh, for sure. You think about how Brian Kelly left last year, and trying and Marcus Freeman sticking with that team, getting the job. Then they start the season off losing 2 games, one to Ohio State. That's kind of a forgiven. You're in Ohio State, but that's a heartbreaker because they thought they probably could have won that game. And then you get to you host Marshall and Marshall gets you, and then you think you've written the ship, and then you play Stanford and Stanford gets you. This team, Notre Dame, has found a way to rally each and every time. So I think that they need to be commended for that. They came out, they were the more physical team, they were the better coach team on Saturday. They handled the elements better. They had the crowd going. I mean, that Notre Dame deserves all the credit in the world because they came out and they punched Clemson and Clemson couldn't punch back. And so Notre Dame, they didn't stop punching. They kept punching. They squeezed the ball. They had a perfect game plan and they executed it perfectly. I hope that this goes for them. I hope this goes forward for the rest of the season, and they end up getting a decent bowl. And I think Marcus Freeman's the right guy there
Oh, for
already.
sure.
So you get next year they're going to be a real tough out. So they've got a lot to play for still. So kudos to Notre Dame. Absolutely. This is why they're one of the blue bloods. Um, you know, Notre Dame's not scared of people. Notre Dame makes people scared of them.
But you know for a fact that I'm circling November 4th, 2023 next year.
Please tell me
A
we finally host them.
Saturday, November 4th, Notre Dame Fighting Irish at Clemson Tigers.
I think we need to figure out what's going on with this scheduling, though. That first year that Notre Dame plays ACC teams, we host them in a hurricane. Awesome, huge moment for the Clemson program, and then we don't see them again until COVID year at Notre Dame, and then the next time we play them is again at Notre Dame. I mean, that's brutal. That's I think these guys should be playing more often. I think it should be alternating on and off. I think this is a game that I think college football should have year in and year out. Because I don't
Well,
think that it's going to be this kind of uh, one-sided affair every year. I think that Clemson's dealing with a lot of offensive stuff. But I think more often than not, this game is going to be close. It's going to be instant classic. We need this every year.
well, who knows what's going to happen with scheduling? For all we know, we could be in the SEC next year. So, um, that's whatever happens, happens. I do agree that this game should be played more, though.
Yeah. So, I mean, just to hit some highlights on what else happened the rest of this weekend. Tennessee went down. They looked pedestrian against Georgia in Athens. Athens came to play. The whole college town there was rocking and roaring, and Hendon Hooker looked like he forgot how to play football. So
Yep.
big win for Georgia. I think they're going to secure that top spot in the next playoff rankings on Tuesday night. So awesome for them. As we said, Alabama went down to LSU in Baton Rouge. So a couple big SEC matchups that are going to impact the playoffs. Ohio State was able to weather not just Northwestern in that run game, but really windy conditions, and they were able to pull out a good win. They looked like they struggled, but they pulled out a good win in the end. Which is, when you watch the Clemson game, you're like, yeah, I would have killed for that kind of game. Uh, so that's the most important thing is, win in advance. You had Michigan start off struggling with Rutgers, and then they pulled away late too. Um, Oregon continuing to flex and look better and better each week. TCU was able to handle their business too. I think finally they're going to be in the top four this week. So go Horned Frogs. That's who I'm going to hitch my wagon to the rest of the season is TCU Horned Frogs. Let's get a championship for the Big 12 and really really put a crow in Oklahoma and Texas's craw by saying you guys are leaving next year. Fine, we don't need you to win championships. We got
Yeah.
TCU.
Other games of note: Texas did beat Kansas State. Illinois fell to Michigan State. I did not see that one coming. Kansas demolished Oklahoma State. Pittsburgh beat Syracuse. NC State beat Wake in a close one.
And
And
let's hold
yeah,
on.
I mean,
Let's give NC State some kudos here too. They're on their third string quarterback, finally finding some offense. Um, I think you and I both had them basically down for the count. We expected Wake Forest to go in and handle it, and NC State. I mean, I gave you a chance to change, and you didn't. You know that.
yeah. So don't say both of us counted them out because I wanted to pick
But
NC
you
State.
doubled down. You doubled down, and I gave you a chance to
I
change
did.
it.
I did, but don't say that we both counted them out. I had a
You
feeling that
did
NC State
though.
was going to win that
That's the
game.
thing. If you didn't have enough confidence in them to go with them, that's on
It was
you.
a coin flip. It was a coin flip for me, and I wanted to go NC State, but I got scared. So credit to
You
the
got
pack.
scared.
Did.
So go pack. Way to go. I thought all of our uncles were looking forward towards basketball season. They still got some football to play. Now,
I think
now,
NC
now you're
State's
looking
in
at that
second place now.
UNC NC State game at the end of the year. Huge.
So NC State's in third place now because they do not own the tiebreaker over Syracuse. Take a guess at who's second to last in the division right now.
Um, Florida State,
Nope.
Louisville.
No.
Is it BC? No, no. Oh, it's Wake Forest now. It's
Wake Forest is second to last in the Atlantic Division.
wow.
They have losses to Clemson, NC State now, and Louisville.
That's
So they
huge.
are, yep, Boston College is last, then Wake Forest, Louisville, Florida State, NC State, Syracuse, Clemson.
That is huge.
So
All right.
I
Well, I
think
think that's all we got for this week for tonight, right, Nick? So as
so.
always, I'm more muted, but go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you with our playoff rankings reaction Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Peace.